All right, Leah. I just finished launching. This is like the last day that I was launching my intuitive business intensive. And we're coming into this conversation like right on the heels of like balancing, just really creating a business that wraps around your life that fits your unique situation. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right?
All
All
right.
the different ways that looks like. Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. And you and I have been talking behind the scenes and talking specifically about multiple streams of income and not relying solely on the money coming from your coaching business. So say more about that.
Okay, look, we have been miseducated, misinformed, led astray. And it's, I've wanted to, I always want to do like white women PSAs because I feel like people are not telling them the truth. We talk about privilege, but we don't always talk about people who prey on privilege.
Yes.
And because the coaching industry, the online coaching industry is so predominantly white, privileged female, there has been a lot of miseducation and misinformation in that circle. And I say that not because they're inherently misinformed, but because the demographic that was attracted to it
Yes.
largely did not have a background in business.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
Yes.
And so, like,
Exactly.
we were talking about a lot of people who had very excellent soft skills, people skills, and they're very passionate and they had access to expendable income, which
Mm.
is a marketer's dream. And these people were very emotionally driven. Lord, if I hear one more person call themselves a heart-centered coach, I mean, that's just one organ. We got a whole bunch of other ones that you might want to cross-reference, the brain being one of them. But because they were so heart-centered and you're talking about people with really good intentions
Yes.
and not a lot of information. And I lumped myself into this as well, even though I had a background in sales and a background in management, a background in marketing, and I'd already like managed a business. The culture was so deep. The propaganda was so deep. And the truth is, what coaches sold people in terms of a philosophy around business was based on what they sold as a service. So, of course, the woman who's teaching manifestation is teaching you that manifestation is what your business needs. The woman who offers you ideation around pleasure or ease or flow, of course, that's what she's pushing. Everybody's peddling what they have to sell. And
Yes.
so, because the community was such a silo, such an echo chamber, and there were so many unhealed sister wounds, witch wounds, wealth wounds, mother wounds, wounds. There was so much I think like unhealed high school wounds coming into the environment. It
Yes.
became very much like about popularity, about clicking up and buying into the propaganda of your clique. And we were misinformed because while manifestation is imperative, like it's very important and it's like an ongoing journey. And while pleasure is very important, and while ease and flow are fantastic things to, have as ambitions, those don't have to do with business. Like, I mean, they're great. Like they intersect, but you can be an asshole who doesn't know how to manifest, who's not high vibe, who isn't having pleasure and still make a shit ton of money.
That's right.
So that was the piece that got kind of left out. And so people learned all of these very important, like maybe emotional personal development skills, but those were being sold as business skills,
Yeah.
which so it's like if you spend $15,000-$20,000 on the coaching and the personal development part, but you haven't spent any money on infrastructure, systems, automation, marketing, branding, research, data analytics, then none of that is going to have the same impact as if you were being led by like the business piece.
Right. And it's like it was all sold under the guise, or perpetuated under this like feminine coaching, right? The feminine energetics, right? Like leaning back, right? And
I have to
it
flare my
was
nostril.
it was fluffy. It wasn't, it was too watery, right? Because it was very emotional. It's almost like right brain heavy, right? So we
Mhm,
were like lopsided, and
mhm.
we weren't talking about profit margins. We weren't talking about organizing your finances. We weren't talking about, you know, sort of how to manage money. It was just kind of like make it, attract it, bring it in. But then it's like, okay, well, what do you do with it?
I mean, the attracting it and bringing it in, yeah, that was again because of the social nature of the industry. Let's just say it's a lot of people who look similar, have similar values, paying each other in a way that in no way disrupts the status quo.
Right.
Uh, right. So there's a kind of internal subsidy program happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the making the money, but I think the way that we were being led to make expenditure was also false. Like
Mm,
the things that people were putting it all on weren't necessarily the places that would keep their businesses sustainable, which is why so many people have had to walk away from their businesses suddenly.
yes. Yes.
Because I mean, and I can't tell you how many crying, intelligent, good-hearted women have been in my inbox over the last few years talking about how they spent 10, 20, $40,000 with in coaching programs only not to have enough to run their businesses. Or I think one of the other challenges is that the internet, while it segments us in a way, we're segmented on interest. And luckily we're not segmented necessarily by economics and class, but I think there's a challenge because many of the women who are the seven-figure, business mentors or whatever, you have to remember these are rich women talking to rich women. So if you're not a rich woman, stop listening to their prescription for your life. It doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
So there's women that are middle class that are in these groups with women who are wealthy, and they're trying to use the same approach to building their business. The reason manifestation is what she needs is because she already has everything else. Do you understand what I'm saying? She's already got everything else. You know how to manifest because you're paying for the coaching program and you're doing everything by yourself. You already got that part down. You need infrastructure.
Yes.
You need
Exactly.
automation. You need a visibility strategy. And because those coaches didn't offer that, they did not teach it, because if they had taught it, it would have led people away from investing in them and investing in other things. So they didn't know it and they didn't teach it, or they did know it and they didn't teach it, which is more often the case, because the
Yeah.
same ones who were teaching feminine energetics and leaning back. Oh my God, I try not to, I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit then. I'm sorry. I had to catch myself. Um, the people who were teaching that, they had these massive masculine marketing systems. And what they
Yes.
were saying was the reason I can lean back is because my daddy, my husband, my proximity to privilege, or my marketing system is my masculine partner. So the
Mhm.
masculine roles in my life are completely filled and operating, so I can lean back. If you do not have these structures in place, this system or approach will not work for you.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. That wasn't spoken. That wasn't put out front in the, like, wasn't transparent. It wasn't transparent. Yeah. And then adding to that is the family structures, right? You talked about daddy just now and husband and everything. And you and I have talked a lot about like being a parent and being an entrepreneur. And there's been whispers around the internet about like, yeah, like a lot of those seven-figure coaches either have older children, right, that are like teenagers doing their own thing, they're almost out of the house, or they're child free. They don't have children, or they have a partner who supports them, right? Blah, 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 blah. And so the businesses of people who are parents is just going to look is like, especially as women, right? Because most of the labor just tends to fall on the female person in the relationship, um, in a heterosexual relationship, or if you're a sole provider. Yeah, and it's like, how do those businesses look like? And how big can those businesses grow? And how much team do you need? And how much systems do you need to have in place to be able to run that without burning out, right?
And these are the questions you should ask first
Yes, exactly.
before you get into business. I just, shameless plug, literally. I just created something called the She Will Workbook, and I was trying to get done with it. It started out being about how to ethically raise your rates. And then the more I dug into the experience, I realized, wait a second, people don't understand how to ethically raise their rates because they don't understand the difference between cost, price, value. They don't know their numbers. So we started off with this very easy digital product that we were going to sell. And I was like, hold on, Nate, now we have to teach them about how to know their numbers. We have to teach them how to prioritize opportunities. We have to teach them, like, what is the difference between all of these things, how to separate personal value and this charge your worth mentality away from market research and understanding what is happening in your marketplace.
Yes.
And that just because you can use charisma, beauty, or finesse to extract more money from people while giving less value doesn't actually mean that you should do that. Like, all of these things, they all kind of like go together. So we ended up having to add like all of those pieces in. Like, ultimately, one of the things we ended up adding was this huge questionnaire of like, these are all the expenses that a business will have.
Wow.
You need to go line by line and figure out how you're going to pay for all of these things before you make investments.
Hmm.
Because coaching isn't your only cost.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And we just weren't told. Like myself, I'm in there. This is not judgment. This is reflection.
Yeah. I mean, me too. And looking back, like I was definitely one of those people who was relying solely on coaching, like as my means of income.
Yeah.
And I woke up last year or the end of the year before, end of 2022, about like, oh yeah, that's not going to work. Like that's not sustainable. It was very clear to me in terms of like my energy levels dealing with stuff that was happening in my life and my health, that this is like, I'm almost 50. Like, how much longer do I think I'm going to be doing this, right? People who are 30 are probably not asking themselves those questions. But if you're listening to this right now, you're going to want to ask yourself that question. How much longer do you want to be launching and doing this and going from one launch to the other? Like, yeah. So take it
Well,
away.
and I feel like in any other setting, the predatory behavior would be obvious, but the argument in the coaching industry was like, if you can't push your edges, if you can't rise to meet what you need to spend, then you are not operating in optimal energetics, right?
Right.
Like, you are not like in any of, like, if you went on a date and things started getting a little hot and heavy, several dates, I'm assuming this is several dates. I mean, whatever the situation is. The point is it's getting hot and heavy and you're like, hey, just to be clear, these are my boundaries. This is where I am. This is what is workable for me. And this is what would feel good for me right now. And if that person were like, I think you just don't want it bad enough. Clearly, you're operating from a place of trauma. And what you really need to do is push your edge. No, you would be like, this is predatory. I'm
Right.
uncomfortable. You're an unethical person and we will not be dealing anymore. But in the coaching industry, because it was woman to woman, it was couched as being inspirational, motivational. I've seen people turn down perfectly good services because they weren't being charged enough, because they've internalized the propaganda that if they're not overspending, they're not playing big.
Wow. Yeah. No, 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 no.
And it's absolutely it's absolute nonsense. And so relying specifically on coaching is a model that was promoted by coaches who didn't have anything else to sell you, and it's not sustainable unless you come from money, have money, you're making a ton of money, and you're investing that money very, very judiciously
Yes, exactly.
and diversifying is like the foundation, I think, of all of that. I think if I had to do it over again, I would probably, as a woman, because so many women are, well, as a mission-centered person, I won't even say as a woman, although I mean, I deal with women, so that's where all my data
Hmm.
comes from. As a mission-driven person, we are inclined to put the mission first.
Yes.
And because it's our mission, we're willing to take a lot of financial, emotional, and energetic hits because this is what we incarnated to do. And so when
Yes.
we take those hits, we go, oh, it's okay that I'm only like making my cost. It's okay that I'm letting this person in for less. It's okay that I'm over giving because this is my mission. Not understanding that you are taking the legs out from under your mission if your margins don't work.
Yes. Right. You take the legs out from underneath your impact, right? Your potential impact.
Your reach, your sustainability, your longevity, your joy, your health, all of these
Absolutely.
things
All
will
of it.
suffer if you aren't making those margins. And I know this because I've learned it the hard way. And this is why it's like
Hmm.
such an important conversation I feel like to be having. So like
Absolutely.
answering
Absolutely.
the questions.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said something in one of our earlier messages about like when we put the mission in front of the margin, right? Or we ignore the margin as we sort of put the mission forward, we are recreating these colonial wounds around providing free labor. And it's really, it's basically like we are, yeah, we are recreating this pattern of extraction, of servanthood, and that doesn't, obviously doesn't serve the person, and it doesn't serve, like, we're not really serving as an example. We're not elevating what the potential of what we can do, like creating a new paradigm for how we get to be treated and what we get to do in the world.
Well, I mean, of course, we've been socialized not
Yeah.
to do those
Yeah.
things, right? Like it's a lot
Yeah.
of unlearning and relearning and I think when I came into it, I know my mom was a public servant, like she's a public teacher. My aunt was a nurse. So again, like civil servants, that class of that generation of Black women that were finally allowed to be civil servants. And so I was brought up in this give, serve
Yeah.
mentality. Um, and while I still believe that is very, very valuable, it is only valuable if the collective that you are serving actually is operating in reciprocity. Because if
Yes.
the collective is not operating in reciprocity, then it is just exploitation under a different face.
Mm-hmm.
And women are and we're encouraged to be economically exploited.
Yes.
And we perpetuate it with each other. Like these are big
Mhm.
wounds. Like I'm not saying that I have these pieces figured out. I'm still figuring these pieces out. How do I keep from being the perpetuator of these constructs? How do I keep from being exploited by them? Like, how do I reteach myself, my mom, my daughter, my husband? Like, how
Totally.
do I reorient in all my relationships to where I'm not drained, and me being drained is not the expectation. Are people pouring back into me? Are they thinking of me in ways I haven't thought of myself? Are they not necessarily meeting all my wants, but are they like meeting because wants are, willy-nilly, but like are my needs being met? And I feel like women are not encouraged to ask these questions in their life, so then they're not encouraged to ask them in their businesses.
I think that's a great point because I remember when I was in that phase of my business where I was just grabbing all of the freebies I could, and it felt like, now looking back, I can feel how that was extracted. That was me taking, like, oh, let me mine this and let me mine that and let me sort of take and sort of patch it together and try to like figure out a strategy for myself. But yeah, like I wasn't interested in, my intention was not to pay or buy whatever they were selling. I was going in for the freebie and that's it. And then that, when you really sort of multiply it by so many people doing the same thing, then you're creating that culture of extraction of just like, you know, low cost or no cost, low commitment, just like not really caring about the real value this person is trying to offer and the effort that's put into it, and right, the real craft that's there.
Well, I think also people don't understand. I mean, the numbers have to make sense too. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes that was the case because people were offering like freebies, but then they had this really high-end program. And really, I would say if you have a really high-end program, then create a low-end program. Yes, create a freebie, like a zero-touch freebie that, moves
Yes.
people to your low-cost ecosystem that, helps people matriculate up through your ecosystem, not giving so much value away that you have to gouge people on the receiving and like figure out, this is like the thing that I love helping people do, is like how to set up their ecosystems so that they make sense for them and for the people coming into them. Like, what value can you offer without not at your own expense?
Yes. Yes,
Even
exactly,
if
and
it's a
making
$10
people.
product, right? Like, even if it's a
Yeah.
$27 product, $37 product, like whatever it is, like, can we make it that? Because the person who's not willing to spend $37 is not willing to spend $3,700. So they're
Mhm.
not even a good fit for you anyway. You're not
Exactly.
like, they're not the person. I was coming up with some pricing yesterday for something, and the end point purchase of this particular thing is $70 a month. And I was like, okay, well, I was like, should I make the workshop free to like get them over to the thing? And then I was like, nah, I'm gonna make the workshop $70 because you need to have $70 expendable on a given monthly basis to even like, otherwise this workshop isn't for you because the thing that it's gonna lead to is not for you either. So I don't
Mhm.
need you on my email list. You don't need to waste your time coming to this. Like it's not for you. And I think hard that's been a hard thing for me because I struggle with wanting to make things accessible.
Right, exactly. Balancing accessibility with that boundary of self-provision, really making sure that you are taken care of, right? First, that so that you can then pour out.
Yeah, absolutely. And also not making your business like, if you feel like you want to do all this good in the world, make money
Yeah.
because almost all of the problems that you probably want to solve can be helped with money, right? Like your business doesn't have to be your social movement. Your
Yeah.
business can be your business, and then you can have something to put into the social movements that you really care about. I was having this conversation with a client about content actually just yesterday because she's posting about things that are limiting her visibility. She's getting shadow banned on different platforms because she's very passionate about a particular issue, and I love her, but I was like, is this an effective strategy? I get that you're very passionate about this issue, and guess what? As a human being, you are not wrong. However, if the point of you sharing, so let's just take this from a linear perspective. Oh my God, dealing with spiritual people sometimes. Let's look at this in a straight line. The purpose of you sharing is for people to see, hear, and receive the thing you're sharing. But because you're sharing it, they can't see you. So
Mhm.
this means that all you are doing is making yourself feel better so that you don't feel helpless in this situation. But
Yes.
guess what? You're helpless in this situation.
Yes.
So now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? So the people that you're trying to help, you can't help them because you don't have any money to contribute. There are actual causes, people who are there on the ground that you could just send cash that will do more than you posting about this topic. Everybody knows already. The awareness is raised.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure the people on the ground would love the cash that translates into food, water, and aid more than they want you posting stuff to people that
Yes.
can't see or hear you because of what you're posting. I was like, so like we have to look at in our businesses, how do we actually make impact? And does the
Yes.
thing that's in our heart actually do the thing that we're trying to like accomplish? Or is it just like a privileged circle jerk and we're just kind of like patting ourselves on the back? So these are
Right.
all like conversations that I unfortunately don't see happening in the spaces. And I think
Mhm.
that people get tired and they get broke, and broken tire is not a recipe for making an impact.
Yeah, exactly. So what I hear you saying is that allow your business to just be your business and then funnel money towards a cause or a project that lights you up. It doesn't have to be connected to your business, but it can be um, ecotourism, or it could be domestic, intimate partner violence, or it could be homelessness, right? And just have a, a special population that you feel particularly passionate about. And you can let people know, hey, 20% or 30% of whatever you're purchasing goes towards this indigenous community,
It's so funny
right?
that you said that. Yeah, because that's exactly like my orientation. Like that's
Yeah.
the conversations that we're having around here. Um, yeah, absolutely. And I that doesn't mean that you're not nothing, no vision you have is going to operate if you die. Like, and this is the conversation I've had to have with myself. I can be perfectly candid with your listeners. I just found out a couple weeks ago that I had a bleeding ulcer. I'm
Yeah.
laughing because only a Capricorn rising would be like just losing blood and be like, but I gotta go to work. Um, because that's what internalized colonialism looks like, is
Yeah.
that you are not functioning and you are still judging yourself by this unreal standard of productivity that is
Yeah.
not productivity in actuality. It's labor exploitation.
Yeah.
And so when you're not charging enough, um you're exploiting yourself.
Hmm.
You're consenting to your own exploitation. And
Yeah.
when you overcharge people, you are inadvertently causing someone else somewhere to be exploited, because it all will have to balance out in the economy, right?
Hmm.
So we have this is why we keep hearing about these multi seven figure coaches whose teams are being mistreated, or whose communities are being gouged or underserved, because they're not balancing that give and take. And so the ethical thing to do is to understand our own nature, our
Yeah.
own purpose, and our own boundaries, and then to set up systems that support all of those things and come with pricing
Yeah.
that reflects all of those things, and to create ecosystems that, to the best of our ability, can be equitable.
Yeah.
And the truth is, people, one of the reasons I personally am moving to digital products uh from coaching and consulting, one is like managing my own energy, but I was not prepared when I got into coaching for the economic reality of some of my clients, because I was coming from the South and, a woman of color, and I knew so many amazing women who were capable of making amazing money and making incredible impact if they only had access, if they only had opportunity. And so I
Yes.
came into it trying to give access and opportunity to, quite frankly, a bunch of women who didn't need it.
Oh.
And I would be like, I mean, I've had clients spend thousands of dollars on marketing campaigns and then just be like, oh, I'd be like, so are you going to launch? Do you need any help? And they'd be like, I can't, I am going to the south of France for several weeks. And so I'm going to come back to this. And I'm like, but you just spent $3, $5, $10,000 on a launch. You spent $10,000 on a campaign for me to build out for you. And are you gonna, I don't see you using it. We wrote all those emails. We made all those images. We did all, but what are you gonna, but the thing is, she's just playing because she didn't need it.
Right. Right.
And so you also have to be aware that if you're focusing on access instead of being equitable, you can end up overgiving and like agreeing to your own exploitation as well. So you really need to understand your market, your demographics, and
Mm.
approach your pricing structure from that. So for me, a woman who woman who has all the drive but none of the information,
Yeah.
she's a perfect fit for my digital products, because I will give her all the information that she needs, and the light can come on and she can go and run with it. So that's been my answer to like the equity access piece, because
Yes.
that woman has more drive, more motivation, has to take more action. She's a good fit for those like low touch things. So she also doesn't necessarily have in the moment all the money that it takes to build all the things, but she's slowly but surely making progress. So she can progress through all my products, and by the end of them, have the information that she needs.
Yes. Yes.
I can't give her my 10K campaign, like full on build out, because she doesn't have 10K. But I can show her how to get from 0 to making, 2,500 bucks a month. So she can get from 2,500 to making 5. So she can get from 5 to 10. So then she can come to me at some point and be like, I went all the way up the ladder and now I'm here and I'm ready.
Okay. All right. So this is a great segue to talk about digital products and affiliate marketing and multiple streams of income, because I know that part of what you've been shifting away from is sort of the one-on-one, face-to-face, done for you services, like not done for you services, but rather like, like really working like direct one-on-one with clients.
Yeah, it's true. I decided that the best thing for my piece is to talk to fewer people. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm a manifester in human design, so it's not just me being an asshole. It really is that I form such intimate and powerful bonds with people in the process of helping them bring their brand visions to life
Yeah.
that I have to limit the energy that I expend in order to do that. So I still am serving done for you clients, but
Yeah.
not under 10K price tag. Because here's the thing. This is the other thing a lot of people don't talk about in the coaching industry. If if I know that it takes 10K to get where you need to be, when we're talking about all the things, we're talking about a product being built, we're talking about branding, we're talking about a visibility, like we're talking about emails, we're talking about all of the things, and I give it to you for 3K because that's all you have, I actually didn't serve you because now you have a product that you can't bring to market.
Yeah. You can
So I
implement.
worked for less than I should have, only to give you something that you now can't mobilize. And so it doesn't serve either of us. And I did not realize that. I really thought that I was being generous with my energy, but I was actually inadvertently like underserving everyone in the dynamic. And this
Yeah.
is what happens with the unhealed, colonial
Yes. Yes.
wounding, right? Is
Yes.
that now we're both stuck in a relationship built on exploitation. And so
Yes.
it's like, okay, this is what it's going to take. And if you don't have this, don't do this right now. I wouldn't tell anyone. And I just told a coaching client this. I was like, I love you so much and you're such a good person. I wouldn't tell anyone to start a coaching business right now unless they have these very specific criteria. And if you can't do this, you can't commit to doing this, and this, I don't build a personal brand, don't build a coaching brand. There are much more lucrative ways to make money that do not involve all the things that building a personal coaching brand entails,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like affiliate marketing and
Yeah.
digital products and things that are faceless. We got all this AI. You don't have to show anybody your face. I was just talking to a coach friend of mine who's like, she doesn't even have an address that she uses anymore. She has to give out a PO box because she had people like stalking her from her social media uh platform. And like, do you really, I don't need to be the belle of the ball like that. I don't need you to know me, like me, trust me. I really don't even give a fuck what you're going through. Like about that, like I don't. Like we don't have to be that intimate. Like I don't want people in my life like that. Everybody I love, I already know probably,
Yeah.
right? I'm good. And so that like putting yourself out there constantly, it's such an expensive business model
Yes, it is.
if you don't have diversified streams of income. So I would suggest to someone that they get to a place of sustainably hitting 10K and then build a coaching business or a personal brand.
That's a great tip. Great tip. Sustainably hit 10K consistently, and then do the next thing, step into that other thing.
Yeah.
Right. And so for the people listening, help them understand like what what digital products, what does that mean? Affiliate marketing, what does it look like? Why is
Yeah.
it important? Like, let's talk about some numbers just a little bit.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm be all right. I'm be all right. I have a Venus Capricorn. I should explain to your listeners. So, like talking about money, it's like my husband said, what did he say to me the other day? I was telling somebody how Capricorns talk dirty because I have a Capricorn rising, a Capricorn Venus, and a Capricorn North Node, and my husband is also a Capricorn. Sexy beast that he is. Um, and he came up to me the other day, kind of getting a little frisky with me. He looked at me, he said, "Babe, you already got paid today. You don't have anything else to do." You right. The talking about money is definitely that's my turn on. That's fine. My husband knows if I get paid, it's probably going down. Like for other people, I don't know what it is. I don't know what turns other people on. I don't know if it's martinis or what it is, but for me, I'm like, "Ooh, what was that? A little PayPal ding? Feeling warm." Um, so yeah, let's talk about like these ways to like make money.